Okay guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be covering retention. Retention is one of those push button topics that everybody in the lash industry is always asking themselves, is it me? Is it the client? Is it the weather? What went wrong with my application? So today I will be covering some of those topics, and maybe together with the help of also the comments, we can all help each other to troubleshoot some common retention problems. So let's jump in. So I've created a list of questions to ask yourself, questions to ask your client when you are suffering from retention issues. So if I'm looking down and looking at the list that I created on my laptop, one of the first questions that I had is for the client. Has the client cleaned her lashes? This is really important because when your client comes in, you want them to be as clean as possible. I also clean my clients' lashes because I kind of don't trust my clients when they say that they've cleaned their lashes, because cleaning for them can mean something that is different from cleaning for me. I use a professional product here to clean the lashes with a brush before every application, just for peace of mind, because I don't want to waste 2 hours and then they get a call from them a few hours later like, my lashes fell out. So are her lashes absolutely clean before you start your application? Does this client need to be primed? So a lot of times I don't use primer because I feel like the cleaner is good enough before I start an application. But does her lashes need to be primed? If she's an oily client, I tend to use a primer. If you don't have a professional primer, I know a lot of lash artists, they will kind of swear by witch hazel. I've never used it myself, but I hear good reviews from witch hazel. It's just something that's going to clean up basically all the extra oils and debris off of her lashes so that we can make sure that they're just stripped down super clean. Another question to ask yourself is your glue expired? Is it still good? So often, and I did another video on glue if you want to catch up with that, is your glue expired? So how you can tell is you will go ahead and pour your glue out into your little jade stone or whatever you're working with, and your glue will be either like a light gray color, or you'll have like it's kind of a stringy appearance, or it's like thinned out. You'll be able to tell if your glue is bad. So is your glue bad? On the same topic of glue, is your glue curing too fast for you? So this is often one of the first things that I try to knock out when I'm wondering about a retention issues. Is it curing too fast for me? So what does that mean? Every glue has a temperature and a humidity barrier that it works best at. So is my room at the temperature that this glue says it's going to work the best? Typically around 73 degrees. Is my humidity at a humidity rate that it's working best? If it's over that humidity rate, what's happening is basically the science of the glue, the main ingredient is mixing with the water that we have in the air. So if it's too humid in your room, basically it's going to cure your glue very quickly as soon as you get it from your jade stone to your client's eye. So in between that transition, it's basically already curing with the humidity. So if your room is too humid, then you need to get a dehumidifier to dehumidify the room. If it is too dry, then you need to get a humidifier to put some humidity in your room, because if your climate is too dry, your glue is going to be drying too slow. And so what happens is if your glue is drying too slow, then you're gonna get those stickies all over your lashes. They might be kind of sliding around. It's not gonna be fun for you or your client. Another way to kind of maybe speed up your speed between that glue drop getting to your client is maybe have them tilt their head to one side. That's also easier for you to work at an angle with getting the lashes in tighter places like those inner corners, those outer corners. So just little tips like that, having them, tilt their head to whichever way. Also, sometimes what I do is I will put like a little, I use like a glue ring. It's like an auto bloomer. It has a flat surface. So what I will do is I'll put it maybe right here, like around their eye. So it's a very quick, it's like I dip it right there and I put it straight on the eye. This is also really helpful for classics because I can see when I'm dipping my classic lash in the glue, I can see that I'm dipping it in the glue, because oftentimes with lash artists, our eyesight is so super focused into those fine details that sometimes it could be difficult for me when I'm looking on my tray to dip my classic lash in. I can't tell, am I actually dipping it in the glue? Like, am I just skimming it over the top? That leads to the next question as well. Do you have enough glue? Because oftentimes we hear in the lash industry, make sure that you don't use so much glue that you have globs of glue. This is true. We don't want to have globs of glue on our clients' eyes, but we also need to make sure that we have sufficient amount of glue so that we can make sure that they're actually adhering to the lash. So, and I have noticed this with my own retention, the way you dip your lash in the glue actually does have effect to how your retention holds. So if you go super quick in there and you go super quick out of there, what's happening is that I feel like it's just creating like a fine coverage to the lash. You're adhering it and you're thinking, great, this is adhering, this is perfect. I don't have extra glue on this. But what happens at the end is because it's cured so quickly because you didn't have enough glue on that lash, it pops off at the end. So that's another reason when I dip my lash into my glue, I dip very slowly, make sure that we're getting into the center of that glue, and dip it out very slowly. If I go too quickly with pulling that out, I might catch an air bubble on the bottom of that lash, and then I'll put it on there and it'll crystallize in air bubbled crystallized form. And that's why sometimes you see clients that come in and they have like all these weird crystallized balls. I feel like maybe it's the last lash artist maybe dipped too quickly into that glue. For those of you who do volume lashes, make sure that your bases are really narrow on those volume lashes if you guys are creating handmaids or pro-maids. I've noticed that if I have a standing leg on my lash, sometimes this works out fine, but I've noticed that those bases need to be very narrow and thin, and that the back of the base needs to be really kind of flat, because when you apply that, if you're doing handmade volumes, you can go ahead and push that into their natural lash and it kind of creates like a wrap around it. Sometimes I've done sloppy fans sometimes, and so I will put the fan on there and I have like a standing leg here, or then maybe crossed over the top, and I'm like, maybe it'll work, but then at the end when I brush it out, it pops off. No surprise, the base wasn't really flush to the lash, it wasn't really wrapped because it was a little bit sloppy. So just make sure if you guys are doing volume fans that you guys have a really narrow base. It's really important. Also for you as a lash artist, it's really important for glue, that you do change your glue every 15 to 30 minutes. It might not feel important. At the end you might think, oh, I'm having pretty good retention, but it does take effect. I've noticed that for me, I notice about an hour in, my glue will start to get like that kind of tackiness, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I need to change my glue. So just make sure that you guys are often changing your glue every 15 to 30 minutes. I've also noticed, since I've been doing this for a while, that actually the product that we're using sometimes, the product of lashes that we're using sometimes, it does take effect to how well the lashes hold. Sometimes you get like, I feel like a dud, like you'll get like a package of lashes, and I'm working with this lashes and I'm like, nothing is sticking. Like, I don't know if you guys ever noticed that too. Like, you're like, maybe like something's up with these lashes. Even sometimes I have to change my tweezers in between. I've been using these tweezers for the last, I don't know, maybe 10, 20 sets, but then all of a sudden with this particular tray of lashes, I'm like, my tweezers are all of a sudden not working for them. They're like twisting up. So sometimes you will get like a dud product. I've noticed that there's certain lashes that I have been sent by, producers and things like that to try. And I'm like, the retention's not as good on these, classic lashes versus this brand's classic lashes. So I do tend to stick with products that I know, work well with my retention. Another thing that I have started to notice is the client's actual texture of her actual natural lashes. Have you guys ever noticed that when you apply a lash to maybe a certain client, it sticks really well, and it's like, okay, that thing, you're tugging on it, it's not coming off. But then you do the same thing for a different client, and then all of a sudden it's like sliding off of their lash, and you're like, how come this is not holding on her lash? I've noticed that it's actually could be the texture of the actual client's lash. For me, those clients that have really thin lashes, I tend to get them, and they tend to kind of slide around a little bit more. I gotta wait a little bit longer. They tend to just not hold well, and that's fine. Not everybody is a candidate for lash extensions. I feel like that's what we need to understand. Not everybody is a candidate for lash extensions. Some people's just natural hair growth, it just doesn't work for them, especially for those clients that have really naturally curly lashes. If you guys experience poorer retention on clients with naturally curly lashes, that's fine. I've been doing this for 5 years. I also experience bad retention with clients with curly lashes. Of course, with curly lashes, you can try to apply from the bottom, which is a way that you can try to help with your retention. But even with that, sometimes it's just because they're so curly and they kind of start, when they grow out, they kind of start going which way, every way. Sometimes they just have a tendency to kind of pop off. So now, after you've covered all your bases with you, now you can start asking questions about, is it my client? So what's going on in aftercare that maybe she's not doing right, which is affecting her retention? So we always say no water on the lashes for 24 hours. I know that this is kind of a heated topic in the lash world. A lot of the glues now, they are made so that you can put a nano mister to kind of cure them and set them. And honestly, if I'm really honest, you probably can get them wet within 24 hours. But for me, I'm gonna say stay away from water for 24 hours, because typically if you're washing your face, you might be in the shower, you might be around steam. So I'm just gonna be safer than sorry and just say no water for 24 hours. You sat here for 2 hours, I sat here for 2 hours. I don't wanna risk it. So if we can just stay away from water for 24 hours, that's cool. Also, no oil near your lashes. I know that there's a brand, I believe it's Novalash, correct me if I'm wrong, but they do create a glue that is actually, you can use oil around that glue and that's fine. But for the majority and for the glues that I use and have been using, no oil around your lashes. So if you're using one of those like Neutrogena makeup wipes, or you're using some kind of oil remover to remove your, you know, mascara, or, sorry, not mascara, don't use mascara. If you're using it to remove your eyeliner or your eyeshadow, that kind of stuff, even if you're really gentle with it, it'll kind of drip down into your lash. And so basically what that does is oil removes the glue. So start breaking down your bonds. Leading up to application of heavy makeup. I know some girls, I don't know why, girls, you get lash extensions, you pay a lot of money, you sit here with me every 2 weeks, and you guys wear heavy makeup, and then you guys wonder why your lash extensions aren't lasting the 2 weeks, the 3 weeks, whatever it is. If you guys are wearing heavy makeup every day, eyeshadows, eyeliners, even some of you use mascara. Don't try to lie to a lash artist. I know you're using mascara. Some of you guys are doing really heavy makeup. So what that's leading to is at the end of the night, of course you have to take off your makeup, or you should be. It's very healthy for your eyes to take off your makeup. Otherwise you're gonna get styes, you're gonna get dirt. I've noticed sometimes with some of my lash clients that they get foundation like bubbles and things like that underneath their lashes, and then I have to go in with a micro swab and kind of clean those out for you guys, because it's really difficult for you guys to get those out of your lashes without tugging at your lashes. So just makeup in general around the eyes, it's really important to kind of stay away from that. And you guys get lash extensions, you guys pay a lot of money, you guys sit here every time with me, so why are you guys wearing makeup? I guess that's my question. Washing your eyelash extensions. Okay, so I know a lot of people, they swear by washing your eyelash extensions every single night. Don't come for me in the comments. I'm gonna go ahead and go against that. I think, in my opinion, with my clients, this is just me, that washing your lash extensions every 3 to 4 days is better for retention than washing them every single night. Because a lot of clients, they are rough with their lash extensions. They don't understand how to finessely wash their eyelash extensions. So for my clients with volume extensions, I always recommend washing them every 3 to 4 days. For classics, I recommend even less than that, just because for classics, it's harder to get good retention on classics because you only have one point of contact. And once you loosen that point of contact, that lash is coming off. With volumes, it's a little better because you're able to wrap it around the lash. And if you lose one point of contact, you might still have 8 or 9, 10 other points of contact holding on. So don't overwash your lashes. You shouldn't have to overwash your lashes anyway if you're just wearing very minimal makeup. Another question to ask is, where does your client work? Does she work in a bakery around ovens and steam? Does she work as a chef perhaps back in a kitchen with fryers and ovens and all that kind of stuff? Does she smoke? If she's smoking, the smoke is coming up in her eyelashes. I've seen people that have even come in with like fringed eyelashes on the tips. Does she work in fast food? I've done a few girls that work at fast food restaurants around fryers and things like that. Those oils, they get up into their eyelashes, just the barrier of the oils when they're working around the fryers, and those will break down the retention as well in the eyelashes. I also have a client that she works in a dental place, so she wears a mask all day, she wears goggles all day, so she's breathing up the air from her mask and it's breathing into her goggles, and it's basically creating a humidity, wet, foggy environment for her eyes all day. And so we've struggled with this client in particular with getting a really good retention from her. I did have to change her over to volumes just because it was kind of the only thing that was holding for her, because classics at that point weren't holding very well. Where we live here in San Diego, it's been very hot, very humid. We've had to wear the mask all the time. Some people work at facilities where they have to wear a mask all day. All of those little things just kind of add up to bad retention here. And lastly, I will say I have recommended this to clients if they can get access to a silk pillowcase. I know one of my clients, she uses a silk pillowcase and she has really good retention, but also she has really good retention because she doesn't wear makeup. She sleeps on a silk pillowcase and she sleeps, I swear, like a mummy, like this. So if you're sleeping on your side or you're sleeping on your face, all of those things are going to lead to bad retention as well. All I can say for eyelash extensions is that they are super great, but we must treat them like the most expensive jewels because they are. You spend money, you spend time. So just be careful with your eyelash extensions, and maybe some of these tips can help some of the eyelash techs out there that are wondering, what is going on with my retention? Is it me? Is it them? Is it the glue? I don't know what's going on. So we have all been there. If you guys have any questions, any comments, of course, leave them down in the comment section below. I will try to answer your questions. We will get through this together, you guys. All right, have a good day, guys.